All right, welcome on back to East Texas now. Landry Brady joining us, our reporter, talking about a summer hazard that you should be aware of because even in the heat, those creepy crawlies like to find a cool place.
They really do, yeah. Snake season is upon us. It started early summer, but we're in the middle of it. So, But yeah, they're not out during the day as much, but during the morning, the evening, and underneath shady areas, there's a lot of snakes in East Texas.
Okay, so I'm sure you talked to experts who kind of went through the things of, okay, what happens when you do encounter them? Because, again, like us, they're looking for a cool place. Who did you talk to?
Yeah, I talked to two different people. I talked to the Caldwell Zoo reptile keeper. Her name is Dallas Goodwin. She told me a lot about the different types of snakes that we have because they have a lot at the zoo. There's over 30 types. There's 5 venomous ones, though. And then I talked to Tyler State Park Ranger Junior Rodriguez, and he also told me similar things and also how to identify them a lot more than she did, just so, because that's a good way to stay safe is identifying them, and also you might want to stay away from them, so.
Here we go.
Can you tell me about the different types of snakes that are found in East Texas, and even if y'all have some of them in here, just tell me about them.
Yeah. So we have all kinds of snakes that are native here to East Texas, but the venomous ones are usually ones are worried about. We have 5 native venomous snakes. So we have cottonmouths and copperheads, which are your most common snakes. And then we also have timber rattlesnakes, coral snakes, and pygmy rattlesnakes.
Okay. And then what about non-venomous ones? What are the most common we see around there?
The most common ones that you're going to see is going to be your water snakes. People often mistake them for cottonmouths. Your rat snakes, a lot of people call them chicken snakes or black snakes. They tend to hang out around your chicken coops and get into interesting predicaments. Your rat snakes are definitely in all kinds of weird spaces.
Okay. And then how do you identify the difference between them being venomous or, like you said, water snakes are confused with, you said copperheads, right?
Cottonmouths,
Oh,
yeah.
Cottonmouths, yes. How do you identify the differences between snakes like that?
Definitely if you do not know the difference, give all snakes a really wide berth. There are some ways that a lot of people tell you to look for that triangular head. Water snakes, your non-venomous, will actually kind of push out the sides of their jaws to make their heads look triangular, which is how they get mistaken a lot. You can look for labial bars on the snake's jaws. If they have labial bars, they're going to be venomous, and if they don't, they're going to be non-venomous. But obviously, you have to get pretty close to see that. So if you see a snake and you don't know what it is, definitely just leave it alone.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing you could do is if you're not familiar with them, don't mess with them.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. And then this kind of leads me into the next question. What are some cautions people should take if they do encounter a snake like that?
Yeah, if you encounter a snake and you're not sure what it is, or if you even think it's venomous, definitely just leave it alone. Give it some space. If it's on like a walking path or something like that, you just give it some space and just walk around it. They're normally just hanging out on those paths to warm up. So just give them some space and they'll go about their own way and you can go about yours.
Yeah. And I feel like a big thing that people don't really realize is how important snakes are to our environment and things like that. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So snakes are really important. They control a lot of our pest populations. No one likes rats and mice, and snakes actually are really great rodent control. So if you have like a shed or an outbuilding that has some mice in it, snakes are going to be drawn to that, and piles of like debris and things like that where small animals can live. Snakes are going to be drawn to those areas, and they're good hiding spots for them. So definitely just be aware when you're in those spots that they may be trying to get rid of some issues for you.
Yeah, and that makes sense. They're important. So if someone were to get bit, what would happen? Like, what should they do?
Yeah, so if you were to get bit, you're not sure whether it's venomous or non-venomous. If you get bit, let's say on the hand, I would remove my watch and the articles of clothing and make sure to keep that at heart level, and then just go ahead and call 911. They'll walk you through all those steps to try and figure out what it is. Definitely don't try and capture the snake or do anything with it. Just let the snake go, because if it is venomous, you try to capture it or do anything else with it. The most instances of bites are when actually people are going to mess with that snake. So you definitely, if you are bitten by a snake, don't go messing with it again. There are 2 different types of antivenom that we would use if you are bit. Your most common one for copperheads and cottonmouths, it's going to be the same antivenom, and then coral snakes have their own, but the EMTs in emergency response are really good at figuring out what exactly it was.
Yeah, okay, and that's good to know. And then, can you tell me about like how often, or let me reword, can you tell me about like when snakes are most out and about, like during the day and like things like that? Like when am I most likely to see one when I'm on a trail or something like that?
Yeah. So right now, with it being as hot as it is, we don't want to be outside during the day, and the snakes don't either. So right now, dawn and dusk are going to be your most, the time when they're going to be moving around the most. And then as we get into the fall season, when it starts to cool down overnight, during the day is going to be when they're most active. But right now, it's dawn and dusk.
And then just, first of all, can you just tell me a little bit about what you do with the Tyler State Park? I want to know a little bit more about what interpreter does.
So as a park interpreter, a lot of people might think that I speak languages, but in fact, I speak for the park, kind of like the Lorax. So what my job is here at the park is I'm responsible for education and outreach inside and outside of the park, trying to make sure that the park is accessible to everybody and education is accessible both in and out of the park.
Perfect. And then can you do me a favor and maybe lift your hat up just a little bit? You don't have to take it off, but if you lift it up, I'll be able to see your eyes better. That's perfect. Okay, let's get into it. Can you just tell me about some of the snakes that we find here in East Texas?
So there are over 30 to 40 non-venomous species of snakes that are found inside East Texas. We have about 5 venomous snakes that you can find in East Texas as well. So you will have your copperhead, your rattlesnake, you will have your hognose, you will also have your coral snake and your water moccasin.
And what are the most, those are the most common?
Those are going to be the venomous snakes you can find in East Texas.
What are the most common in general then?
So the most common venomous snake that you will find in East Texas is going to be either your water moccasin or your copperhead. But if you ask anybody here at Tyler State Park, they often find coral snakes a lot too.
Coral snakes, really? Okay. Very cool. And then grass snakes, are they common here too? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have your various non-venomous snakes. Your most common is going to be your garter snake. And then your other next common is going to be your rat snake.
Rat snake, okay. Perfect. And then can you tell me a little bit about the difference and how to identify the different types of snakes and things like that?
So, yeah, oh God, it's tricky. It is so tricky to identify snakes, you know, because in order to identify a snake, you kind of have to be up close. And in no way, shape, or form am I asking someone to get up close and personal with a snake. But there are some key identifying factors when it comes to, oh my gosh.
You're okay.
I'm going to restart the question.
No, you're all good. Can you just tell me about a little bit about how to identify different types of snakes?
So when it comes to identifying snakes, it can be easy to someone like me, but to someone who's not well versed in snakes, it's kind of difficult. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I asking you to get close to a snake. Always make sure you keep a safe distance. Even if you don't know what it is, always assume that it's venomous or always assume that it can bite. Anything that has teeth can bite, so treat it as such. It is a wild animal, so make sure that you keep your distance and stay safe. Now, some key features for venomous snakes here at the park. So here we have both water snakes and water moccasins. And the one easy way to tell them apart is that water moccasins or cottonmouth, they're both the same name for the same snake. Water moccasins will have a black band around their eye, while water snakes will have bands around their mouth.
Okay, that's good to know. And then, but then again, you can only really see that if you get up
Exactly,
close,
if you get real close, exactly.
And yeah, I would not be doing that. So can you tell me about like some cautions people should take if they were to encounter a snake like out in the wild, if they were out here hiking? What should they do? And can you scoot over just a little bit? That tree branch keeps getting you right in the face.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So what to do when you encounter a snake? So whenever you encounter a snake, trust me, they sensed you or they see you before you saw them. They're probably going to go the other way. Most of the time when I'm out here hiking, I will usually see a snake on its way out. They don't want to be around people. They are shy creatures, and they will only exhibit defense mechanisms when they need to defend themselves. So, for example, when they hiss, when they grunt, when they like fake a strike, stuff like that, it is just to scare us away. Them biting somebody is just a last-ditch resort.
Okay, so like basically an overarching term would be if you don't mess with them, they really won't mess with you.
Correct, yeah. So as long as you respect them, they'll leave you alone. I have had plenty of hikes on trails where I have seen snakes and they will go the other way, especially if you're in a large group too. They, like I said, they don't like to be around people. Let's see. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah, you answered that good. Can you tell me some ways, so like if somebody were to not follow that advice and they were to mess with one and they accidentally got bit or something like that, what would be the next step? What happens from there?
So if you were to ever get bit by a snake, whether you think it's venomous or non-venomous,
sorry, there we go.
Whether you think the snake is non-venomous or venomous, go ahead and get that checked out. You know, I'd rather be safe than sorry. So let's say, for example, like I said earlier, there's only 5 venomous snakes that you have to worry about in East Texas. You have your copperhead, so if he's on land, it's probably going to be a copperhead. And then a rattlesnake, we all know what a rattlesnake looks like and sounds like. And then you also have your water moccasin, so if you're near water and you got bit, look for the black band. And then last but not least would be the coral snake, which is a very small snake. And then the other one would be the hognose. The hognose has a triangular shoveled nose. So there's key features to identify these snakes. So if you ever do get bit by a venomous snake, you just have to remember what it looked like.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of confusion out there in the snake world.